Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to walk through how I frame my artwork on paper. I do this at home for a fraction of the cost that you would pay at a framer's, so if you find today's walkthrough helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Alright, first things first, I need to purchase the materials I'm going to use to frame the artwork. In this video, I'm going to be talking at length about using a service and materials from a company called American Frame. I should preface this video by saying that I am in no way associated or affiliated with them, other than that I use their products regularly. So, in an internet browser, go to americanframe.com. Once there, select Browse Frames, then Metal Frames. I find that metal frames are easier to assemble and handle than wood frames. It's pretty cheap, looks nice. I'd say go with metal frames, at least if you're starting out. Next, I'll go to metals by color. I already knew the color of frame I was going for because I knew the piece of art that I was framing, so if you have some kind of idea, you can choose to sort the frames by however you like. I'm going to go ahead and select earth tone metal frames because I've already completed and photographed my artwork, and I know that an orange/bronze frame will complement it nicely. Now I'll select the exact frame I think that I want. And to make sure that I want it, once I'm at the frame, I will hit customize this frame and then preview image in frame. Next, I will select the file for the photographed artwork and click start upload. The image will upload, and once you can see it, you need to then go ahead and update the dimensions. Make sure these are the dimensions of the visible artwork and not the dimensions of the paper. With the proper dimensions all put in and the art looking how it should, we'll move on to reviewing the frame selection. If you liked how that preview looked, there's nothing for you to do here other than just continue on to the next screen, but if you want to check out a different frame, you can select change and pick a new color and style from the pop-up menu. It should just load your art directly into that frame, so you can test things out that way pretty easily. Because I liked my frame, we're just moving right on to reviewing the mat. Here, I actually want to make some adjustments. First, I don't want that much overlap of the mat over the art, so I will update it from 1/8 inch to 1/16 inch overlap. I don't think a 2-inch mat is necessary for this piece, and the smaller the cheaper, so I'll be selecting equal borders and reducing the baseline to 1 inch on every side. With all the dimensions adjusted, I will deselect equal borders and increase the bottom mat dimension to 1 1/4 inch, which is a little visual trick to counteract the eye's tendency to perceive the bottom border as smaller when all of the sides are equal. Because my artwork is pastel on paper, and pastels never dry and often have adherence issues, I will select reverse bevel cut at the bottom. This way, if pastel particles fall off of the paper, they will be caught between the lip of the mat and the art rather than being stuck visibly between the mat and the clear acrylic up front. Next, we're on to the acrylic. I will be using standard acrylic, but UV acrylic and non-glare can both be useful if you can afford them. Like I said, I'm going for as cheap as possible, so I'm going with the standard. Because we are framing paper artwork, I want to use acid-free board to make it as archival as possible. I know I just opted to not get UV protected acrylic, but I'm cheap, sorry. Having gone through everything, you can review the full specs of your package on the left right here. Assuming you're satisfied with everything, add it to your cart and see your full price tag. Here, the framing materials for my 16-inch by 20-inch artwork are around $76. At a framer, I think it is safe to say it would be at least twice that. With all the materials purchased and acquired, let's jump into the actual process of putting it all together. I'll glove up with some nitrile gloves right away to cut down on the grease I will otherwise smother everything with. Here are the frames all packaged up, the mounting board, the mat. Alright, we will start by securing the bottom and sides of the frame. For this, you will need a slotted screwdriver. In the framing package from American Frame, you will also have received a small bag containing right angle corner securers, 4 pieces with screws called tapped corners, and 4 that are just solid pieces of metal that are called back plates. You will need one of each to secure each corner of the frame together. My first step when assembling these frames is to locate the bottom segment of the frame and attach the 2 side segments. This makes it so you can easily slide in the mounting board, artwork, mat, and plexi when you have all of them put together. I've got to jump in for a quick aside here, which looks like it will be the theme throughout all of my videos. And that is making stupid mistakes because I'm trying to be fancy and make the video look prettier and cooler. So I didn't want to work on a towel or blanket to soften the ground because I often end up getting hair, lint, etc. Stuck behind the plexi when I do that. So I cleaned the flat concrete floor to frame on and loved how it looked as a background for the video. I figured that if it was flat and clean, it wouldn't matter that it was so hard, and hey, isn't it pretty? Well, as it turns out, if there's even a grain of sand on the ground, it can scratch the metal frame. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. My official recommendation is to put down cardboard onto whatever surface you are working on, regardless of how cool it might look as the background in your how-to frame videos. Okay, with that out of the way, you can see that you place the tapped corner with the screws on top of the back plate so they are perfectly lined up, and then slot them into the back rails of the frame bars. Then you take that handy slotted screwdriver and tighten both sides of each right angle fastener. Because this is a video on how to frame a work of art on paper, I'm assuming your art on paper is also taped to a hard and flat surface. Now that you have the bottom and sides of the frame put together, it's finally time for you to free your art from tape gel. Okay, your art is now free and your frame has its structural foundation, so now we will move on to securing the mat and your art to the mounting board. I use Self-Adhesive linen hinging tape by Lineco, or Lineco, I'm not sure, which can also be purchased through American Frame. God, they should be paying me for this. The most important part of selecting your tape is to ensure that it is archival, otherwise it can damage and discolor your artwork over time. I'll start by adhering the mat to the mounting board by measuring the top of the mounting board. I subtract 1 inch from that measurement and cut a piece of hinging tape to that length. Because I am framing art with pastel, like I said in the reverse bevel cut, I want to make sure that the bevel is showing in this step so that when I close the hinged mat, there will be a lip over / in front of the artwork and the mounting board. Next, I set the top of the mounting board up against the top of the mat. I personally like to place the mat on top of the acrylic so that the mat and the mounting board are on the same plane when I tape them together. To make sure your artwork goes into the window of the mat once it's hinged down, place your artwork on the mounting board and measure the distance from the edge of your artwork, not the edge of the paper, but the edge of the visible art, to the edge of the mounting board, and ensure that is the same distance as the mat width on that side of the art. When you have the right distance, make a small mark with pencil on the mounting board at the edge of the paper so you know where to place it. Next, I'll cut the pieces of tape to adhere the art to the mounting board. For this, I need 4 3-inch pieces of tape. I use the classic T-hinge here, placing a vertical piece of tape face up and a horizontal piece of tape face down, adhering the first piece of tape to the mounting board while leaving the bottom of the vertical piece exposed to adhere to the artwork. Place your artwork on top of the T-hinges and in line with the marks you made on the mounting board, then lower the mat down over the art. Now it's time to peel off the protective plastic from the acrylic that will go down on top of the mat. I like to use microfiber cloth and plastic clean and shine to remove any lint, hair, whatever, that will stick to the newly exposed acrylic. This will happen because the acrylic has a ton of static and is an absolute magnet. Also, please note that if you are framing with acrylic and not glass, do not, I repeat, do not clean the surface with Windex or any ammonia-based cleaners. It will fog the plastic. I just spray a bit of the plastic cleaner on the cloth and wipe down the plexi. Once you feel the plexi is adequately clear, place it down on top of the mat, artwork, and mounting board. Next comes the rewarding and typically very frustrating part of sliding the mounting board, art, mat, and plexi sandwich into the rails of the sides and bottom pieces of the frame. You can do this with all of them lying down or vertical, though I would actually recommend doing it lying down, unlike I did. Again, I was going for the cool factor of not showing my framed art until the end of the video, which I messed up in the intro anyway. In the same small bag that contained the corner fasteners, there are also 2 small D-rings that need to be slotted into the back of the sides of the frame before you put on the top section of the frame. We will worry about securing them in a second. For now, just get them in there. Now we will seal the top of the frame using the same corner fasteners. Put them in both sides of the top piece and then slide them into the sides. Back to our little bag of metal goodies, you'll find a bunch of metal spring clips. Take those out and squish them between the back of the mounting board and the frames. Do this as evenly as you can on all sides. With the artwork, mounting board, mat, and plexi all secure in the frame, we will put on the finishing touches of securing the D-rings and the hanging wire. Measure 1/3 of the length of the side down from the top and secure the D-rings on each side using a slotted screwdriver. You can see I finally got hip to the fact that I scratched the frame on one side, hence the sweet holiday blankie. Take the end of the wire and pass it through one of the D-rings from underneath. Pull the wire back up and through with roughly 2 inches of wire coming out. Give it a tug so you have a nice bend in the wire at the D-ring. Pull the end of the wire back around behind itself, again giving it a solid tug to make that first loop around the D-ring tight. Then push the end of the wire back down through the D-ring. With the end of the wire coming out the back of the D-ring, again pull it up towards the rest of the wire and tug it to make it secure. Then wrap the remaining wire around itself. On the other side, measure roughly 2 to 3 inches past the D-ring while putting a little slack in the line and then cut the wire. Repeat the knot tying steps on this side. And there you have it, one fancy, affordably framed piece of art. Thanks for watching.